a lot of people ask us, okay, that sounds great, but how do you actually do that? When you're in the interview process, the employer, the hiring manager, the recruiter, they're asking, hey, if your offer comes in at this range, would you be okay with it? You basically want to very tactfully deflect answering those questions or giving information that is useful to the employer, but not necessarily to you.
This is episode 3-ish of Gentle Power. We're still trying to figure out the name of the podcast.
We'll land on a name at some point. I think it'll come to us. We shouldn't search for it.
Okay.
It will search and find us.
What is meant for you will find you,
yes.
Which is something I do not live by.
Yeah.
I'm like, what you want to get, go get it.
Yeah. It's that Albanian fighting spirit.
It's that negotiator fighter spirit.
Yeah.
So we are here with Muji. Oh, okay. She is literally the cuddliest dog we've ever met. I have to confess, I didn't used to like pets because I grew up in Albania before moving to the US for college, and we wouldn't do pets in Albania. It had just come out of a civil war.
Not a thing. They were a luxury.
Yeah,
yeah.
Not even. Well, my grandma, for example, lived in a village, and they had cows, and dogs were to shepherd the sheep. People would associate pets with living in a village and houses, but I grew up in condos, in apartment buildings. There was just no concept of pets. Humans were barely surviving with all the civil war and everything.
Yeah. Oh.
And then how did we get to fall in love with dogs?
Yeah. Well, I'm reminded of how in the first couple years when you moved to the US, you even had kind of culture clash moments, because sometimes we'd be at friends' homes and you weren't immediately kind of seeking them out or petting them like how a lot of people do,
because
you're scared. And I remember that sometimes people would almost be offended. It's like, oh, it's just my dog, like it's so friendly. But for you, your experience growing up was actually mostly street dogs, and no one really had dogs as pets. So for you, it actually was maybe a scary experience. I remember very clearly early in our relationship when you didn't like dogs, and in the US when we're at friends' homes when people do have dogs, you would notice how the dog owners would almost be offended that you weren't necessarily warm to it, but then it made a lot of sense just based off of your actual experience.
When I was little, a stray dog bit my grandma, who is the most precious person to me, and she had to get tetanus shots, and so that was my experience of dogs. And then Alex's younger sister gets a dog who is the most precious dog ever, Rio.
So my sister lived in San Francisco, where we live, for about 2 years, and when Rio was here, we absolutely adored her. And it's so funny how you just see a complete shift when a dog does capture your heart.
Yeah.
And I've never seen you, maybe beyond me, but never seen you so enamored with a living entity, and how you would just want to constantly be like cuddling, hugging, and Rio completely turned your heart. And it's kind of funny because I have 2 sisters, each one got a dog. So my younger sister got Rio. My older sister has a dog, a big Bernie Doodle named Franklin. And for some reason, Franklin just doesn't get that much attention in the family. All the attention goes to Rio. There's clearly a favorite child. But,
well, Franklin, we like to love him from afar. Yeah. He is much bigger than Rio. He's what, 70?
He's like 60, 70 pounds.
70 pounds. And he loves to run around and just be very rambunctious. Rio, in my defense, not that I need to defend anything, but Amma and Appa, Alex's parents, they also didn't like pets, and they fell in love with Rio.
Yeah.
So maybe it's that, immigrant from
developing country. Yeah.
Growing up in a developing country. Yeah.
Anyway, but now in the present day, we have a few friends. We're obsessed with dogs. We dog sit as much as we can because we really like cuddling them and having them sleep in the bed and everything. So this is Muji. Muji's going to be featured on this. Oh my God, look at her. Okay, we should probably move on to...
One more thing.
Okay, yes, all right, go.
After your sister Jess and Rio moved to LA after living here for 2 years, we were both empty nested. And
I think we kind of had this period where we were just like, extremely
really
sad that Rio was gone. Of course, my sister as well, but we're like, but Rio is gone.
But Rio mostly. Yeah. And then I went and found, I'm a seeker, so I went and found another dog, Truffle, our friend Zana's dog. So precious. She's so cute. When I brought her, I asked Donna to dog sit her for a while. Alex was so loyal to Rio. He was being kind of cold to Truffle.
I didn't accept Truffle right away. I have my loyalties.
I was like, she's so cute. She's like 5 pounds.
She's like a 5-pound toy.
15 or so?
Yeah.
So she's like a third of Rio, a super cute little dog, a little stinky in the beginning. Now everyone knows how to take better care of her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look how cute she is.
She did. I did come around. She has fully captured my heart.
It only took like a few hours.
Yeah. I mean, Truffle is very cute. We'll feature on a future episode here.
She is back in the States. She's the most well-traveled dog.
Yeah,
probably.
She travels the world. She went to Italy, Mexico, Thailand.
Thailand, everywhere.
I don't even know how you figure out all the paperwork for that. It sounds like
Azana has really invested into that.
I wonder, actually, okay, random thought. Do dogs have passports?
They do.
Like, if you look at their passport, is there like a picture of them? All the non-dog lovers out there, they're just like, all right, can we please move on to negotiations piece? But all the dog lovers...
We like cats too. Although Alex is allergic. But you love cats. A quick story. When we lived in Boston, may we never move there ever again. Sorry, Boston.
No offense,
people.
Boston.
Boston is
like
like
Boston.
home, but we love SF more, a lot more. And when we lived there, we lived in a 3-storied house on the 3rd floor. And then was it the 1st floor neighbors? They had cats, and they asked us to cat sit briefly. And Alex goes and cat sits and is so sweet to the cat. But then he starts getting hives and starts sneezing. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I'm allergic to cats. So sweet. No mention of it. And just like having the best time with those cats.
I think I was just in denial that I'm allergic because I do enjoy just fluffy animals. And I thought maybe I just constantly just have congestion kind of low key all the time. And maybe I didn't necessarily attribute it to, it's the cats. I just thought it was like dust or pollen or something, you know? Yeah.
While we're on it, since we're on a roll, why don't we talk about your other allergy that you kind of just got over it randomly?
Wait, what is that?
What were you allergic to at one point and then you just randomly got over it?
COVID?
No.
Oh. Wait. Hold on. I'm thinking of that time when we went on that walk and I got very paranoid about being outside.
We should talk about that as well. So,
okay, sure.
Beginning of COVID, and maybe you will realize as I'm telling this story why you're allergic. My teeth are dry, so I can smile normally.
Want some water?
Mm-hmm.
This episode brought to you by...
Whoa!
Okay.
If LaCroix wants to
actually, let's leave it here so that I can drink it too.
So, beginning of COVID, maybe a few months into it, I really wanted to take Alex to Bernal Heights because I had been there before, right before COVID, with a friend. We were hiking and we're like, oh, we heard Manny's, this pretty well-known bar in SF that also organizes political conversations or different events. They were hosting an event at the top of Bernal Heights, and I go with a friend, we're hiking, they're playing music, and as the sun is setting, everyone starts clapping. There's maybe 100 people.
It's like when you land on an international flight in another country, everyone claps.
Everyone was clapping at the sun setting, and I'm like, I love SF so much. First of all, I think it was February. I'm catching the sunset outside. In Boston, I would have been so miserable in the cold. I don't like the cold. And not only that, but people are so joyful that they clap at the sunset, and it was all just magical. And then COVID starts, a few months into it. I want to bring Alex to Bernal Heights to just show him the amazing views. And it was about a walk from our home, probably an hour and a half, honestly. But anyway, I love to walk. I'll walk as far as probably an hour and a half.
That's your radius. Yeah, your time radius.
As we're slowly walking to Bernal Heights, maybe like 10 minutes into it, Alex starts getting into hives.
Like my skin gets itchy and
like, I don't know,
it was turning
not
red.
Feeling well.
I'm like, I think we got COVID.
This was got COVID.
Like.
But because back then we thought you could get it even outside.
Yeah, that was when we were kind of wiping our groceries down with alcohol wipes.
I don't do anything. We're washing them with soap. The zucchinis and everything.
Yeah.
And then as we're walking away from home, minute by minute, he starts breaking out into hives. I don't know, I'm not feeling well. Maybe I got COVID.
Like, we need to go back right now.
It's only been 10, 20 minutes of a walk. I'm like, are you sure? You were fine 20 minutes ago. Like, no, there's something. I'm like, okay. And then we turned around. 5 minutes later, you feel...
Actually, I think as soon as we got home, I was completely back to normal.
Or as soon as we are turning around, like get home, you're
progressively.
Totally... Very suggestible, this one.
Definitely like placebo effect in action.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, what you were allergic to, do you remember? You should know this. It's not like you've been allergic to a lot of things.
Honestly, I have no... Wait, what? Is it a food?
Kind of?
I mean, I guess technically, like, you could... Anything is a food if you're determined enough.
Should I just tell you? You were, and then you got over it. How do you not remember this? It's the story we tell.
I am completely drawing a blank right now. Is it like a Mediterranean food, like olives or something?
No, literally allergic. You would break into hives.
Oh, alcohol.
Yes.
So I was. Oh yeah. Well, it's because I'm no longer allergic. Well, I used to be allergic when I first drank in. I won't necessarily say when, because I may or may not be. But when I first drank, the next morning, my entire back was red and there were rashes everywhere. And I kind of freaked out because my whole, it got inflamed. Like, I kind of barely move. And so I'm like, oh man, I'm allergic to alcohol. Like, I can't drink. But then I drank again. And then it happened again.
Why would you drink again?
I don't know. Just like, But then I drank again, and then it happened again, but at a much less severity. And so I realized, I'm like, oh, I just need to drink it out of my system. And then so over time, it basically disappeared. But I don't drink as much as I used to, especially like there was a huge spike in business school. Yeah. But I feel like we live healthier lives here in San Francisco.
Yeah, people don't drink here. We're California sober. Also, I noticed that Muji is snoring. Like, we're not being interesting enough for her. Look at her little face.
She's fallen asleep on her first podcast episode. Okay.
Don't try this at home. I feel like we have to say it. If you're allergic to something, don't just power through.
Yes, like medical disclaimer or whatnot. Yeah. Okay, should we get to negotiations? If you have worked with us before, or if you follow our content, we put out a lot of free advice, free tips on LinkedIn and our newsletter or whatnot. Links in the show notes. You want to avoid negotiating until you receive the written offer. But how do you actually do that? A lot of times when you're in the interview process, the employer, the hiring manager, the recruiter, they're asking a lot of questions about my compensation, or they're asking like, hey, if your offer comes in here at this range, would you be okay with it? You basically want to very tactfully deflect answering those questions or giving information that is useful to the employer but not necessarily to you. You want to save your negotiations where you actually start making counteroffers to what they offer, asking for concessions, all that. You want to save that until you receive the written offer. Now that we've established that, a lot of people ask us, okay, how do you do that? That seems actually pretty tough. Like I get pressured a lot way before the written offer to maybe agree to things or give away my leverage or share information. Do you want to dive into how to actually go about doing that?
First, I want to clarify one thing, which is you are technically negotiating along the way in a job application. One of the first touch points is when you're applying online and the job application asks you what your preferred salary is. That is a negotiation move that you need to be prepared for. And the more common one is the first recruiter screening call, where they ask you what your preferred salary is, or if you agree with their salary range that they posted or they're sharing with you. So you're technically negotiating along the way. But what we mean when we say don't negotiate until you get the written offer, we mean don't ask for things. You are technically negotiating along the way, but don't start asking for things until you get the written offer, ideally.
When you say ask for things, like asking for increases
ask
or
for increase,
showing,
ask for different start date, ask for more vacation, just don't ask. Like along the way, you just go along with it. We can discuss compensation at a later point. I want to make sure this is a mutually good fit first. All of that, just go along with it. Do not start pushing back until you have the written offer, ideally. Now, in this current hiring environment, we're recording this in 2025. It's a very tough hiring environment. There have been a lot of layoffs, and it is an employer's market. What that means is employers have a lot more leverage, and they can get away with different tactics. They can be aggressive and all that. A lot of companies are saying they will not give you a written offer unless you negotiate upfront. That's typically not true, but there are some companies that have found ways around it, especially Meta and Google. They have found ways around saying that they do not give you a written offer. And their ways are they could send you the PDF of an offer. So I want to clarify why that's not enough and what we mean by written offer. A written offer is one that you can sign and now you are employed at the company or you've agreed to start working there.
It arrives as like a DocuSign or
yes,
something. Yes,
DocuSign or even a PDF that lets you sign. If it doesn't have a place for signature, it doesn't count. And why is that important? And why do we want a written offer before we negotiate?
The reason is because the written offer is the point at which you have the most leverage than any other point in the entire interview process or the negotiation with the company. If you receive the written offer, that means that the company has chosen you over all of the other candidates, because there's virtually no situation where a company will send out multiple written offers to multiple candidates for one role, because what if 2 or more people accept, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of weird Hunger Games situation going on, which is not realistic.
We have heard of one company doing that, but I think they were just saying it. I really hope they weren't actually doing it. I do remember a client said, this company told me we'll just take whichever client accepts the offer first. So maybe they didn't actually send the offer letter, but they said whoever accepts first will take them.
Yeah, it
and
sounds like
that is, wow, what a red flag.
It sounds like that was more of a pressure tactic they're using than but even still, that does present some sort of red flags with the company and kind of the work environment you'll be entering. Back to the original point is, if you receive the written offer, that means you've basically beaten out all the other candidates in the pipeline. And a lot of times they kind of put all the other candidates on hold until you give them an answer, because they've chosen you. So once they have chosen you, you know that they've done all their internal alignment to make sure that they want to choose you over the other candidates. They've gone through all the logistical processes to actually draft up the written offer, send that to you. So at that point, they've chosen you, and that's the point at which you have the most leverage and the highest chance of making asks that can materialize.
In the graph of negotiations, it's the lowest risk of them rescinding the offer, and it's the highest chance of you getting what you want. Although there are other things that make it higher, like having another offer and not sharing details about the offer, but it's one of the highest. Okay, great. Then people are like, how do I ask for a written offer? Actually, the whole reason we're talking about this is because I wanted to get to this point. One way people phrase things that I personally do not like, and I think it's not the way to go, is either I don't feel comfortable sharing that. I think it makes people feel defensive. Or can you put that in writing? These two phrases I have a bit of an issue with. I don't love them. And in this context, some people, as I'm coaching them, like, hey, ask for a written offer, don't start negotiating. They're like, okay, so how should I say it? Should I say, can you put this in writing? Or I asked them for a written offer, I asked them to put it in writing. So I don't love this for a few reasons. One is, it makes people feel defensive. Let's say you're the recruiter and you're like, okay, this is the offer. What do you think? And you're like, can you put that in writing? It's as if you don't trust the recruiter to deliver on what they just told you. In all fairness, we have seen this multiple times. It's not an edge case where a recruiter will say, hey, your offer is $240. And then when the offer comes in writing, it's, let's say, $230K. A lot of clients are like, I'm pretty sure they said $240. Like, I was there. And they're like, no, I said $230 on the call. It has happened a few times. I have seen this a handful of times in the last few years. It's not a one-off. Either way, we don't want the negotiation to feel combative. So even though there is a bit of a risk where, they might not deliver on the numbers they quoted to you, you don't want to say, can you put that in writing? So, because it makes them defensive. So that's number one. Number two, the reason why we should not phrase it that way is because you can put it in writing. What I love about negotiations is there's so many ways to think about things and to strategize how to go about things, but people think a little narrowly. And actually, quick tangent, there is this psychologist that I really like. She wrote the book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. In the book, she talks about this example where a lot of us, and this was in the context of mental health and life approaches, we are like a prisoner just shaking the prison bars and not realizing that actually there are no walls around you. There's just the bars. And we do this with negotiations too. We're like, oh, we should ask them to put it in writing. You can put it in writing too. You can follow up after the call. Let's say they gave you some numbers or they increased the initial offer. You can say, dear recruiter, thank you so much for increasing my initial offer or offering me $240K base and, I don't know, 20% this and this much equity, this much sign-on. So now you have put it in writing. I mean, of course, they can still say, no, I didn't say 240, I said 230. At that point, you can't win that game, but at least you can put it in writing yourself. And then the third reason is something we mentioned earlier, which is you don't want it in writing in the body of an email. You actually want a formal written offer. So that's why we need to be very specific. It continues doing the like.
Yeah, you need to turn that off.
And so those are 3 reasons where we recommend not using the phrasing, can you put it in writing? And what you do about it. Well, what can we say?
Yeah, so if you don't have the written offer yet, the interview process, you apply for a job. If you move on to the recruiter screening call, if they want to move you forward. If you continue on from there, you go through a whole round of interviews. And if they want to extend an offer, then it'll typically be a verbal offer over a phone call with the recruiter. And then from the verbal offer call, then they will send you the written offer.
You have to ask for it. Almost never will they give you the written offer unless you ask for it.
Yeah, so you have to ask for it because oftentimes it's on the verbal offer call where an employer will usually try to get you to verbally commit or try to get you to agree to things or even say yes to the offer on the spot. If not that, or if they can't get that, then at the very least, they're kind of gauging your reaction to the offer numbers and to see if, did they seem happy? Did they seem disappointed? Because that sort of impacts how much they're maybe willing to invest in actually in negotiating with you, right? But how do you at least ask for the written offer? Yeah. So that would typically be on a verbal offer call, right? Right. Or
even as a follow-up email, ideally during the verbal offer.
Yeah, so the way that you would ask is on a verbal offer call, you basically just say, thank you so much for sharing about all the figures. I'm very excited at the possibility of joining. Would you be able to send me the written offer?
Yeah, that's great. There's more we can say there.
Yeah, and then after the call, there are many ways that the conversation can kind of decision tree out of that. Likely, they won't necessarily be like, yes, we'll send you the written offer. Check your email inbox. That's rare. A lot of times, though, an employer would go with the middle ground and they'll send you an email with the numbers of the offer in the body of the email. Right. So that's not the written offer, although it is better than nothing because you at least have something in writing to point back to. Regardless, after the verbal offer call, you always want to follow up via email in writing. So basically put in writing the same ask that you had in the verbal offer call.
And a couple of things you can add there. One is you can say something like, I'm sure the company has a lot of other benefits that would really help make my decision easier. So all of this, just to make sure we're on the same page with the listeners, all of this is such that you get the written offer, you have more leverage, you know for a fact where you stand with the company, and then you can start negotiating and asking for more money or whatever else you're trying to negotiate, start date, vacation, anything. And this is sort of an indirect way to get the written offer and get that extra leverage. I think we can wrap up here.
Yep.
Maybe we can talk about the verbal offer on the next one.
Yeah. Okay. I have so many ideas of future episodes because there was so much more we wanted to say. So, all right, well, we'll end it there. And thank you, Muji. Muji literally fell asleep in the middle of our podcast episode. Okay. She clearly found this exciting. All right, well, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Gentle power.
Gentle power.